So, apparently Trump is removing the blockade, and agreement will be reached, and it'll be signed next Friday. But guess what? I'm still skeptical.
Not sure if you remember me, Anthony, but we spoke yesterday.
Vaguely,
Anthony,
coming back to me.
good to see you. So, okay, there's more statements coming in. Let me see if anything. I'll read the statements coming in from Iran about the deal. Starmer is welcoming the deal, not that anyone cares. Iran's Supreme National Security Council put out a statement. So I'll read that in a second. Let me save it so I can read it for you guys.
This is from an hour ago.
Audience overview. Anthony, you probably are in the loop. For the audience, we were just talking about it earlier, but for anyone that wasn't tuned in for the previous live, I'll just give you a quick brief. As always, the day starts out shitty and usually instigated by Israel. So Israel struck Beirut. Iran is preparing to retaliate. Trump wakes up, goes to shit, yells at Netanyahu on all media outlets, criticizing Netanyahu, asks Iran publicly not to attack. Iran decides not to attack. Reports of Trump offering them concessions. It seemed the concession, based on Iranian media, is that Israel would pull out of Lebanon, which I don't know how that's a concession, because that was meant to be part of the initial deal, according to Iran.
Yes, Israel needs to get out of Lebanon to have a permanent ceasefire, permanent peace. How that happens, especially during election year in Israel, that's the question.
But I had my doubts. That will be included. We'll discuss it later. I'll tell you what my concerns are about Israel pulling out of Lebanon and why I wouldn't be surprised if it's not included. Anyway, so then we have a deal. The reason we know we have a deal because Iran announced they have a deal. They've released the clauses, the 14 points, which I'll go through in a bit. I'm not sure if you got the chance to see it, Anthony. So that's where we are. Pakistan, everyone confirmed the deal. Qatar, Trump, and other countries are starting to congratulate Iran and the US. And Netanyahu hasn't confirmed the deal because he's not part of a deal. And according to Israeli media, Netanyahu was asked to stop bombing Lebanon and to pull out of Lebanon, and he refused both requests from the US. So that's another story we'll discuss. I'll read out the statement from Iran's Supreme National Security Council that just came.
Yes, Netanyahu bombing Beirut on the day on Trump's birthday, when this big deal was supposed to go through. That was Netanyahu saying "fuck you" to Trump. So it's not an auspicious start.
Came in. Not sure if there's anything important there. Iran, under the leadership of his martyred leader, has completed its success over the American Zionist enemy and under the guidance of the supreme leader of the system, may God protect, with the support of all the people, blah, blah, blah. After a difficult and intensive several-month negotiation period and based on the resolution of the Supreme National Security Council, finalized the text of the MOU regarding the end of the war negotiations between Iran and the US on the evening of June 14th. According to the agreements reached, the war and military operations on all fronts, including Lebanon, will end immediately and permanently from tonight. And furthermore, the naval blockade against Iran will be immediately and completely lifted. The signing of
That's big. If the United States is lifting its blockade, that means Iran can export its oil with no issues now. So that is really good for Iran.
MOU will be officially carried out on 19th. Negotiations of the final agreement will be postponed until after the other party fulfills its commitments according to the MOU. Iran appreciates the efforts of Pakistan and Qatar. Again, they didn't mention Lebanon. I'm telling you, Israel pulling out of Lebanon will not be included. But Anthony, I'd love to kind of get a brain dump.
I think this deal is failure then. And it's a betrayal by Iran if Lebanon is not included. I think people would riot in Iran, and this deal won't go through. Israel needs to get out of Lebanon.
Of everything we've seen so far in this announcement, what your initial reaction is? You're muted.
Yep, quite a bit has been going through my mind as I have looked at the latest responses, and as we kind of primed ourselves emotionally and expectantly going into the weekend with this thing on if we on looking back on Thursday evening, Friday was a done deal. In between that time, we've had some tit for tat with some drone strikes, and again today another strike in the southern suburbs of Beirut. The tension of this, it was going to be signed Saturday for sure. It was going to be signed Sunday. Now Pakistan, who has been a critical interlocutor in this, is saying that the official signing, everybody will come together and do this on Friday, June 19th. A lot can change. A lot can happen. If I look at the verbiage of this, of at least what we know will be in it, and again, no one has seen the actual release of it or the official, what we've seen that's been talked about between the various sides is as the point you made in terms of that language of what will be included specifically for Lebanon. And when I look at this, and to remind everybody, a memorandum of understanding is not a treaty. It is not an agreement.
No, it's not any of that. It's the weakest form of agreement you can have.
It is not an accord. It is not an armistice. It is simply that. It is a memorandum that outlines an understanding of how to proceed forward. Like right now, with the conditions that we are in, we're fighting war. There's a blockade. there's hostilities ongoing. Let's have an understanding, and in that understanding, we're going to codify it onto a piece of paper. But what's the obligation? What's the commitment? What's the reinforcement? What holds everyone to account for those things that are in, to include the actions of others? For example, if Russia didn't like this agreement and Russia were to interact in this situation on behalf of Iran because they didn't like Iran's position, and therefore they were doing something that they felt for what was for Iran's benefit, though Iran didn't do it, how then does the United States respond? The reason I bring that up is because we have a very real aspect of that, and that is Israel.
Yes.
So, as I was kind of looking at that, and I've used
this is what worries me. Is Israel is its own side. Let's say there's this memorandum of understanding between the United States, the Gulf states, and Iran. And it's not like you can just say, okay, it's Trump can just say it's between Israel and Iran now. I'm not involved. Because what Israel will do is it will bomb Iran's energy infrastructure. It's all its oil terminals or whatever. Because the one thing that's been preventing that through this whole war is Iran's promise to mirror any damage it receives to the other Gulf states. One critical infrastructure struck in Iran, 5 in the Gulf states. It was its promise. So what happens if there's this peace between United States and Iran? Then Israel goes and bombs Iran's energy infrastructure. Well, or just starts bombing it. Iran has a choice. Does it just bomb? Does it its Gulf neighbors who he's just signed a peace agreement or a peace understanding with, and that restarts the war? And if it doesn't, then Israel will just keep bombing energy, all the critical targets in Iran that they weren't able to during the hot phase of the war because they were afraid Iran would strike the Gulf. It's a way to take out Iran's oil without all the other oil infrastructure in the Gulf going up in flames. It's a terrible place for Iran to be. So that's my concern.
This before, the way I see this MOU is, give a visual for people that don't know what it is that I'm talking about when I said the Chinese finger trap. But here's on one side of this, here's the U.S. and here's Iran, and yes, the colors in the middle are intentional. That's Israel. Here's that trap. We try to come together and we get deeper in, and we try to come apart and we're stuck. And how do we get out of this? How does Donald Trump get away? How does the Iranians close this? How does Iran go back to doing what they were doing and not having U.S. involvement? But you can't, because you got this thing that's trapping, and it's very hard to get out of. And the only way to get out of it sometimes is you have to break the
I can't believe he used an actual finger trap.
thing away and get rid of that in order to okay, now we can agree. So when you look at this, what really concerns me is going forward, what does this memorandum of understanding do towards an actual peace agreement? There's a war. Wars don't end with memorandums of understanding. The critical sticking point now is Lebanon. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Prior to the most recent exchange of hostilities and kinetic strikes, now going into this all of a sudden, hey, a new day has dawned, a memorandum of understanding for peace. What conditions changed strategically for either side in this last round of kinetic engagement to now bring this new proposal to the table? Well, the truth is that either one side was hurt to the point to where they have to negotiate. One side has realized that they can't fight anymore, whether or not they're defeated, but they can't fight anymore. Or one side has decided we don't want a part of this anymore. We got into it. We have no way to win. We're going to cut our losses and get out. And the reality is that the truth is that the United States has realized there's nothing to gain in this to continue.
Yeah, the United States lost in this war. Didn't achieve any of its objectives, and Trump wants a way out. I don't know if he's going to get it.
Because really going into it in the first place. So this memorandum of understanding, to me, in looking at it, the fears that come back to my head as a military practitioner and a student of history, it's got the betrayals of the Treaty of Versailles. It's got the ambiguity of the Treaty of Nanking. It has all the deceptions of the Sykes-Picot, and it has all the sellout of the Balfour Declaration. It's like somebody Googled what are the worst treaties in history and took the components of each into this memorandum of understanding to go forward. Because prior to this morning, before Israel was striking southern Beirut again, I think the deal stood as it was to where Israel or Iran recognized Israel's still going to have play in this. But For the sake of going forward, can we all agree? America,
I think the civilian leadership of Iran is getting played to an extent because of Israel. Because if they don't have confirmation Israel's on a leash, and they agree to this peace, whatever, I think Israel's just going to go and blow up all the oil infrastructure in Iran, and energy, and the desalination plants, and everything critical in Iran. And Iran's just committing itself not to hit the Gulf states because of this. And it's the one thing that's been holding the United States and Israel back all this war from doing that, from going after critical infrastructure in Iran, is the threat of Iran attacking Gulf. And this, if they go along with this agreement, this is basically Iran agreeing not to attack the Gulf, but Israel is free to attack them. I think pretty much it's stupid.
Israel, us over here in Iran, can we all agree? Get out of northern Beirut, or excuse me, get out of northern Lebanon, stop striking across the Litani, stop striking Beirut, get out. Then we can talk about the future. Can we at least do that? And Israel, again, has struck. And I think in those last-minute conversations, we do know that Iran, as when the United States said, hey, Iran, please don't retaliate. Well, Iran's not going to sit back and do that for free. Nothing's free in this negotiation between these parties. So Iran, I'm sure that Iran probably said, okay, well, you know what? We won't strike. But now the conditions, we raised the bar. We've raised the bar. You want to go into this negotiation or this understanding, then Israel's got to get out of Lebanon completely. We want
that was meant to be included from the initial MOU. Arachi literally said it 2 days ago.
Yes,
Arachi was lying 2 days ago. He said, why would they include it now? And by the way, it's not even mentioned in anything. All the formal statements, including the one I just read, nothing mentions about Israel pulling out. Nothing at all. Not the, obviously Trump's not going to mention it, not the announcement by the whatever council I just read, the Iran Supreme National Security Council, neither the leaked 14 clauses in Mehran News, which I'll go through in a second, none of them include end of hostilities. None of them include Israel pulling out. Unsurprisingly, and I'll tell you my argument. By the way, truth is starting to sink in now that they're seeing the clauses for the Israelis and soon the Americans. I'll read this one actually. I-24 news correspondent Amichai Stein. Why is this agreement a strategic disaster? The Americans give the Iranian plenty and get nothing in return. The most absurd thing is in this war. The most absurd thing is that this war ends with sanctions relief for oil sale, something that didn't exist before the war. He doesn't even know that there's going to be a fee in the Strait of Hormuz. It'll sink in soon.
Yeah, there will be a fee in the Strait of Hormuz.
What do the Americans get? Nothing. No nuclear, no ballistic, no proxy. Finally, sinking in.
That's right.
Thank you for explaining why this war shouldn't have happened from the beginning, Amichai. But
I want to see Nux's reaction to this. Again, he's probably going to get it from a media that's going to spin it and not tell him that there's a toll on the Strait of Hormuz. You need to wait a little bit longer, I think, for him to lose his marbles.
The heartbreaking thing for Lebanon is, I was making the point earlier, and I was actually making it for all day today because it's something that's been on my mind and it seems to be materializing. Iran cares about Iran first, same way any country should care about its own country. Iran benefits strategically from Hezbollah, not Lebanon, a failed state, from Hezbollah. That's the one that has partial allegiance to Iran. So for Iran, they need to focus on Hezbollah surviving and rebuilding its military. But for them, Israel pulling out of Lebanon doesn't benefit Iran.
Yes, it does. Because if Israel doesn't pull out of Lebanon, that undermines Hezbollah. Hezbollah started this war with Israel in support of Iran. If then Lebanon loses a huge chunk of territory because of the actions of Hezbollah, that people will be furious with Hezbollah. So Iran needs to make sure that doesn't happen.
Iran strategically in any way, maybe a bit, because Lebanese people would appreciate Iran for playing a role, the only country that get Israel out of the country, and they might do that, and I applaud them if they do. But there's even an argument to be made. It's not an argument I've made, but it's one I thought of, and one can be made because it's the logical one. Is that Iran may even benefit slightly from Israel remaining in Lebanon because that gives justification for Hezbollah to keep existing.
No. Rather the opposite. That undermines Hezbollah's existence. If Israel remains in Lebanon, people of Lebanon will see, we have Israel right now in the country because of Hezbollah. If it wasn't for Hezbollah, Israel wouldn't be inside the country. No, Mario, you're being a retard on this.
Hezbollah exists as resistance for Israel.
Please, Anthony, call him out.
As long as Israel's in Lebanese territory, Hezbollah has a reason to exist. So I really doubt Iran would jeopardize this entire MOU or any future deal for Israel to pull out of Lebanon. And I do not think we will see. I do not think we will see Israel pulling out.
I know this. I understand. The reason Israel is in Lebanon is because Hezbollah, in support of Iran, fired rockets into Israel. That was the provocation that Israel used to grab a huge chunk of Lebanon. It's Hezbollah's actions. if Israel isn't forced out of Lebanon, then what's the point of Hezbollah? They are the ones who actually caused Lebanon to lose territory to Israel.
Yeah, of Lebanon. Now that's the.
No, I don't think we would either. In whether if the idea of Israel leaving Lebanon in its entirety was actually the intent of Iran, would we see that likely happening? No. So in talking about memorandums of understanding to go then into future negotiations, nothing's set in stone. But you don't go into...
Oh, they'd still have support, Hezbollah, but it would look very bad. They'd have less support. Like the millions of Christians that were forced to flee from the southern Lebanon, do you think they will like Hezbollah for have started this war and having lost their homes? You will have a huge displaced population in Lebanon that is absolutely furious with Hezbollah for having lost their homes. They'll be furious with Israel too, but ultimately it was Hezbollah who started it, and Hezbollah's actions led to them losing their homes. That doesn't make Hezbollah's position stronger. It makes Hezbollah's position weaker. Unless Israel can be forced out and all those refugees can go back to their homes, and in that case, the anger will be entirely on Israel for the destruction they caused.
But before you go into the final game of a series, you don't go and work out for 10 hours and make yourself tired going in. You come in with a maximalist position. So in this, everything right now, as this memorandum of understanding gets tweaked, going into what will be the foundation. The memorandum of understanding going forward is going to serve as the, hey, you said this. Are there going to be violations? Are there going to be pushing of the red line? Of course there are. That always happens. But this is that thing to go back for both sides to say, hey, you remember this? So you want to put the most that you can into that, to where you have then acquiescence space or negotiation space that you're not giving up right off of square one. So do I think that Iran would anticipate that Israel would ever entirely leave Lebanon?
Something Anthony talks too much.
Not under this agreement, not under these accords, but to go in and start of a position of, okay, then in the South, to start light, you're already giving up something. So you start heavy, to where knowing that it's going to be, your position will be reduced in order to have leverage for other things. That's the art of leverage. So looking at how Iran's approach to this is that, to your point, does Iran care about Iran first? Yes. However, we do know that in the great, the great, this trilogy, or this, the people.
That is Mario regretting asking question.
The government and
because this answer is completely worthless.
The military, the great trifecta, in that is Iran have a domestic audience to respond to in terms of what
there we go. Right there. That was all he needed to say. Does Iran have a domestic audience to respond to? Yes. So they have to respond to that. So they would like to get Israel out of Lebanon. There, 10-second answer. Good God.
You're looking at, hey, we withstood quite a bit, and we sacrificed a lot.
I think the point that Anthony's making is that Iranians have sacrificed so much. They have so many other concessions that they need to resolve, that they need to take care of their own country before taking care of another country like Lebanon. And throughout the entire war, Iran was dealing with...
Well, you know what? Next time Iran goes to war with Israel, or Israel attacks, more likely Israel attacks Iran, Hezbollah won't support Iran. Because they remember, last time we supported, we fired rockets in support of you, Iran. Israel took half our territory, and no, it's not going to be half. It's more going to be like a fifth of Lebanon. If they keep everything they have now, maybe even 6. But in any case, it's still a 1/6 of Lebanon. And so next time, Hezbollah won't fire rockets into Israel. Iran will have lost its ally in Lebanon. Because... Iran can't abandon Lebanon and Hezbollah and think they're still allies.
Sorry, even before the war,
Mario's being protesting, a retard.
Saying, we care about Palestine, we care about Lebanon, but please care about us first. So they were literally protesting the Iranian government putting the plight of other people, the Palestinians, the Lebanese, over their own. And that's a very good point. Again, I don't blame Israel for fighting Hezbollah. I don't blame Iran for focusing on Hezbollah and their own interests rather than Lebanon. And this is why I said Lebanon will be, I posted it on May 1st. I quote tweeted it a few minutes ago. I said Lebanon will be the biggest loser of this war. And this is exactly what we're seeing.
Israel will be the biggest loser of this war when it's forced to withdraw from Lebanon, is my prediction. And Mario, I'm sure people in Iran can see this as clear as I can. That Hezbollah was an ally. Hezbollah attacked Israel, and we can't let the results of that be Israel takes more territory. That's unacceptable. Hamas isn't in the part of the equation. Hamas isn't an outright ally of Israel. Hamas didn't do anything against Israel in support of Iran. It's a completely different issue. It's not relevant. Hezbollah in Lebanon? No, Iran is not going to let that go.
Getting an incredible deal. The US lost, but by far the biggest loser. Israel gained more territory. We'll see if they're able to annex it or not. Lebanon got fucked the most. 20.
If Mario thinks that Israel is going to be able to annex territory in Lebanon and still have a peace in the Middle East and have Iran go along with it, you are completely batshit out of your mind, Mario. It's the first time I hear you say something so stupid.
20% of the population, I think, is still displaced, and they got bombed as early as a few hours ago. And they have, 10-20% of the country they need to be rebuilt. The New York Times, Trump criticized Netanyahu nearly derailing the agreement with Iran, calling him a very difficult guy. Trump also claimed he had saved Israel from nuclear obliteration and said Israel wouldn't be around for 2 hours if Iran obtained a nuclear weapon. Right, a whole bunch of bullshit. Immediately after signing the MOU, Iran will get $12 billion in sanctions waivers on oil, petrochemical product, and gas. The only thing Iran will do is open the Strait of Hormuz with Iranian management and service fee. The rest will take place after the final deal. It's a very good point. So Iran would charge a fee at the Strait of Hormuz in order to get sanctions lifted and sanctions waivers on oil and money and assets unfrozen. So Iran gives nothing and gets a lot, which is expected. And that's why the negotiations for an MOU took very long. Trump wanted it to take long, believe it or not, because he wanted the world to kind of move on and be distracted. So by the time there's a deal, people forgot where Trump was at 2 months ago. Total surrender, regime change, obliterate the country. They call me begging, and then
no, Trump didn't delay for that reason. Trump delayed because he didn't want to accept this terrible deal. And now he's accepting it because we're reaching a point where oil is about to run out around the world, and he has no choice.
2 months later, we're going to unfreeze their assets, lift some of their sanctions, and they control the world's most important energy choke point while still maintaining the access to resistance in their ballistic missile program. Like, if this deal came out 2 months ago where people's minds were fresh and not distracted, I feel like Trump would just plummet in the polls. But yeah, most of his voters don't even know this. They don't even know what would...
The deal just came out, Mario. It's going to be in the newspapers tomorrow. It's Sunday. People aren't paying attention on Sunday night. You can't say that I think he's still going to plunge in the polls tomorrow. Mario, you're being very dumb today.
We're discussing right now, which is crazy. But look, I'm glad he took the deal. I'm expecting Lebanon to be thrown under the bus. It's not surprising. Do you think there's a possibility?
I mean, all the neocons and the media is going to rip Trump apart tomorrow. And you think he's not going to plunge in the polls? I mean, I'm remembering that.
Iran may get into a war with Israel to force him to get out of Lebanon, or no? My answer is no. I don't think they would.
No, I think in terms of a...
Sorry, what did you say?
Do you think there's a possibility that Iran may get into a war with Israel to force him to get out of Lebanon, or no?
Yes.
My answer is no. I don't think they would.
No, I think in terms of a full-blown conventional Iran versus Israel direct war, no. A continuation of war by proxy or war in the periphery, where we've seen already, perhaps. And to your point, the biggest sacrificial loser in this, I wouldn't say really the loser in terms of the parties that went to war. The sacrificial loser in this is Lebanon. And in terms of the to your other point, which I agree with completely, is that if this was a few weeks ago and we're talking about Donald Trump being excited about ending this war with Iran having given up nothing, Iran hasn't given up its nuclear program or its nuclear material or any.
I would say if Israel can keep all the land it seized during this war, then it's a winner in a way, because he's taken a lot of Lebanon, and what Israel cares most about is land. And
material that it's already had. They now control, they didn't before, but now they have a modicum of control, whether it's little or a lot, of the Strait of Hormuz, a new condition that exists. So if you look at everything from where Iran has given up nothing and gained a few things, that they've won. They have literally won. And if you look at what...
They have won, but I don't think this is over. Yeah. Because the Lebanon issue.
The United States has given up and lost and what they've gained. Well, what has the United States gained from this? Really, nothing. And not only has given up ground, quite literally, but has also given up a lot strategically in terms of what the capabilities of our Navy are, our resources and assets, our strategic weapon supply. So much we've given up. And when you look at all of those things in terms of cutting the line over who won, who lost, winner and loser, that's very clear. Now, the question with going into this the hardest part now whether this memorandum of understanding gets signed. If it actually gets signed, we have an agreement in principle. If it moves forward to where all the parties are, yes, it's official, we're going forward, save the date, it's happening, then the hardest part now comes forward with maintaining it and actually enforcing and committing to it. Because, I mean, we've seen plenty of things fall apart, even if they're in writing.
Let's go through the various clauses and let's see how each one looks like.
All right.
Sending a quick message to my producer. Trump told the New York Times that the agreement was reached with Iran would ultimately assure that the Strait of Hormuz is permanently toll-free. He keeps saying this. There's an MOU.
Yes.
This is how, like, I understand the MOU is vague, and I'm concerned about that. But there's a difference between a vague MOU and both sides agree but are not certain about the details versus a vague MOU and both sides fundamentally disagree at one of the most important
Trump keeps saying no tolls. Iran keeps insisting absolutely tolls.
points of the MOU.
That's right.
The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important sticking points, and they disagree on it so open, not so blatantly, or just in such a binary way. Trump says it's going to be permanently toll-free. Iranians are saying it's under our management and we'll charge a toll. How the hell is that an agreement?
The understanding piece would be if there was disagreement over how much the toll would be, right? Like one side is saying it's going to be this much,
Sorry to interrupt. Also, the MOU includes both sides not making military threats to each other, yeah? Trump told the New York...
Just checking Twitter. Iran says we'll strike Lebanon if IDF does not withdraw from Lebanon. So, I don't think Iran's abandoning Lebanon.
Times that he will restart military attacks on Iran if the negotiations fail to produce a final nuclear deal.
We're not going to make military threats. And if you don't agree to not making military threats, we're going to bomb you.
I'm actually my team, but didn't the MOU include a clause about not making military? I'm having my team check this. This is wild, man. All right, so let's go through the various clauses. I got them saved. What else did New York Times? Hold on, let's see what Trump told the New York Times. Trump told the New York Times that if nuclear deal with Iran is not reached, he would either restart military strikes on Iran or make the U.S., quote, the guardian of the Middle East in return for 20% of the region's revenue.
What is Trump smoking? Do you think the Gulf states would agree to give up 20% of their revenue? Yeah, because of a war Trump decided to start?
I'm going to skip it. On Netanyahu, Trump stated, quote, he's a very difficult guy and suggested the Israeli prime minister should be grateful, adding if Iran had a nuclear weapon, Israel wouldn't be around for 2 hours. Okay. Trump said his decision to strike Iran and impose a naval blockade had remade the Middle East in America's favor and confirmed that the US and Iran are still negotiating key details of a final nuclear agreement, including whether Tehran would suspend uranium enrichment for 15 to 20 years. Under any eventual deal, Trump said Iran would be restricted to low-level uranium enrichment that could never be used by the military. You see that last point? Like more concessions, limited enrichment.
Mm-hmm. Limited. Before the war, he was insisting on no enrichment. Now it's limited enrichment.
The position before was zero, none. Iran can't even say the word nuclear. Now the concession is going into limited enrichment, as long as it's not used for military. Man, wouldn't it be great if we had some kind of comprehensive joint cooperation agreement that outlined all of that we could have gone off of? I wish we had something. I'm saddened that no one has thought of that before.
Very bizarre. No president figured out how to do a normal deal with another country on such an
without going to war and yeah, man.
The Obama deal had all this. There would have been no trouble if Trump had it ripped up that deal.
I don't know why no one's has thought of that before.
Yeah. So let me go through. But I had the JCPOA negotiator earlier today, Alan Ayer, and I literally when he joined on, I'm like, man, you messed up. This is how you do a deal. See this MOU. This is what you should have done 2 years ago, just to mock him, because his name is Alan. He's a regular on the show. He's like losing his shit on how this. Yeah. He worked 2 years on that deal. It gets ripped up for this MOU. That's like a shit show for the US.
And really, the JCPOA was actually a better agreement or a better thing for the United States than this MOU is.
Oh yes, it was comprehensive. It was ironed out over 3 years, and it was as rock solid as you could get. This is nothing.
Oh, it's incomparable. Like, just to be clear, this MOU is incomparable to the JCPOA. The JCPOA was at first a proper agreement. The MOU, the principles of this MOU are significantly worse for the US interests than the JCPOA. That's without question. So obviously Trump will twist it, and well done for him.
Well, and the POA of JCPOA was plan of action, meaning requirements, constraints, consequences, etc., towards an achievable end state. An MOU, what is that? An MOU is just an idea. So yeah, the fact that the JCPOA actually was much better for the United States in terms of our national interest and security.
All right, let's finally go through. By the way, just on the Iran, on the Israel-Lebanon thing. So the Iranians are saying Trump has offered a full Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon and the immediate lifting of the blockade, leading.
Trump has offered a full Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon, which Trump will never do, with Netanyahu will never do. So, oh my God, so many issues with this deal.
Iran to halt its planned strike, according to Fars News. So they didn't put it in the MOU, but this is a side promise that the Americans made. So they can criticize the Americans for not abiding by the promise of Israel pulling out of Lebanon, but they kept it separate from the MOU for a reason.
Yes.
So I just want to mention that. And that's
They kept it separate because they know Trump won't be able to enforce it.
That's how I know Lebanon's screwed. All right, let's go through the full MOU. Let me open it up. Sorry, I'm just trying to get all the updates for the audience. 1. Permanent and immediate cessation of war on all fronts, including Lebanon. That's all it has. Confirms there is no Israel pulling out of Lebanon. 2. The U.S. commitment to non-interference in Iran's internal affairs and respect for the sovereignty of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Well, Trump just did a great job by threatening to bomb Iran if they don't abide by the negotiations. But hey, let's skip that point. 3.
It also means Iran has to force Hezbollah to not attack Israel on Lebanese territory if the ceasefire is to go through. Because if Hezbollah keeps attacking Israel, then of course Israel is going to respond, and there is no ceasefire. This is a terrible deal.
Complete lifting of the naval blockade within 30 days. Trump's already delivered on that one, and he said he would, so I'm not surprised on that one. 4. The U.S. commitment to withdraw its forces from around Iran. Vague. I thought this comes at the later agreement. We'll see. From what I understand, so this is new to me. The U.S. will withdraw its forces, the military buildup, 30 days after the full deal is reached, the full agreement is reached. That's according to the Parliament of the National Council. We spoke about it yesterday when he was breaking it down. But let's see. This one says the U.S. commitment to withdraw forces. Sorry, I missed the word commitment. So the U.S. committed to withdraw forces in the future. 5.
This is nothing, because of course at some point in time the United States will withdraw its forces from the region. Yeah, maybe at 3 years, or it could be in a month. At some point,
was within 30 days under Iranian arrangements, charging a fee. 6. Suspension of sanctions on the sale of oil, petrochemical products, and derivatives, and full access of Iran to its financial resources. Whew. Sanctions lifted on the sale of oil and derivatives. 7. The necessity for the U.S. and its allies to present a reconstruction plan for Iran amounting to at least $300 billion. Vague and for the future, so nothing significant there. 8. 60 days, so that's it is significant. $300 billion reconstruction plan is something unimaginable. The Americans would accept that, but it's commitment to achieve it. What does it say? The necessity for the U.S. and its allies to present reconstruction plans. See how the vagueness of it? You're going to present a reconstruction plan.
Present a plan. I have no intention of going along. Okay, here's how it would work. I'm not going to do it, but here's the plan. Present a plan.
Okay, I'll present a plan.
It'll probably be a board of peace.
Yeah, probably be a board of peace.
A reconstruction board of peace. A board of reconstructive peace, headed by Kushner.
And then they have bank details on the announcement with Kushner's name on there. Jared Kushner, JP Morgan bank account SWIFT number. All right, so number 8 of the 14-point plan, ceasefire plan, whatever, MOU, 60 days of negotiations to reach a final agreement based on nuclear issues and the complete...
It took Obama 3 years to negotiate the JPOA, and they're going to do something 60 days.
Of primary, secondary U.S. sanctions and UN Security Council and IAEA Board of Governors resolutions. So in other words, 60 days to discuss our nuclear program that we discussed and agreed to 2 years ago to discuss it again. Number 9, reiteration of Iran's commitment under the NPT treaty not to produce nuclear weapons. Wow. They promised not to make a nuclear weapon. That's the first. Number 9, reiteration of Iran's commitment. Oh, that's the one I already read. 10 out of 14. During the negotiation period, the U.S. has committed to not add forces in the region and not impose new sanctions. So they will not further build up their military presence there. 11, release of $24 billion of Iran's blocked funds during the 60-day final negotiating period. Half of this amount must be made available to Iran before the start of the negotiations. So as expected, $24 billion unfrozen, $12 billion instantly, $12 billion at a later date. 12, formation of a supervisory mechanism to implement the agreement. Fine. 13, the final agreement will be approved by the UN Security Council. Fine. 14, final negotiations will not begin before the release of half of Iran's blocked funds, suspension of Iran's oil sanctions, and lifting of the naval blockade. And the final agreement will only cover the fate of enriched materials and enrichment, lifting of sanctions, and Iran's economic reconstruction plan. Discussions on the missile program, Iran's missile program, and the support for the resistance groups are definitively removed from the agenda. So it confirms that the proxy network and the ballistic missile program, which were some of the objectives at the beginning of the war, are completely out of the question. So
Completely out of it. Yep.
Well, that's the 14 points.
Yeah, and if you were to look at that, and I would ask the audience, and I would ask anybody to look at that and say, let's take off the title of United States. Let's take off the title of Iran. Let's look at simply country A and country B, and look at history and say, okay, on the 28th of February 2026, country A initiated a war with country B in order to achieve these stated goals. Even though, let's say that those goals were ambiguous and those goals seemingly changed, at this point now with this ending document, we can say that those were the goals. Country A started a war with country B to achieve these goals. At the end of it, country B doesn't give up anything. Country A agrees to pay for what the damage they caused to country B. And
I can't believe that that's actually in the MOU, that to propose a $300 billion reconstruction plan. That
country B gets to keep the things that country A wanted to take from them. It's just the reason they started this war. So again, taking away the title of United States or Iran, so there isn't this, well, you're pro this or you're pro that or you hate that, just country A and country B. Looking at those conditions based on how this war started and where we are now, who won? Country B. There'd be no question. There'd be no one would even second guess it. Anybody. Go to the streets of Washington, D.C. and do little sidewalk interviews. And don't say the word Iran or the word United States and just say, hey, I have an anecdote for you. You know, country A and country B go to war and this is what happens. Who won? They'd be like, well, of course, country B. Oh, okay, what if I told you that country was Iran? Oh my God, they lost. Why they lost?
yeah,
Because they're Iran and they lost. It's like, but like
because Trump said they lost.
Yeah, because Trump said they did. And
Trump has been saying they lost every day since the start of the war, and repetition is truth, don't you know? You say something enough and it becomes true. If you wish really hard, anything you want can come true. We live in that kind of world.
I just look at the reality of, but then going forward, right? How long is this period of, under this memorandum of understanding? How long is that period of if we screw something up, you know, we can kind of adjust it, or hey, some of these things can be fixed. What's that period? What did we say? 60 days.
60
right?
days. Yeah.
60 days. So we didn't just end the 100 Years War or World War II or Vietnam, where you would look at, okay, we need 60 days to figure out how to unfuck 10 years of fuckery. Instead, it's we're going to take 60 days to unscrew a war that we've only been fighting for 100. And you don't think that something just as exasperous to restart or make it worse can happen in those 60 days with a horrible plan of what happened in the previous 100? Come on.
Well said.
It's not a good plan.
Yeah, man, it's
No, the only way this really ends is Trump pressuring Netanyahu. And he can't do that yet. There isn't the will to do that. AIPAC and the Israeli lobby have too much power in Washington. You need the oil crisis to hit, to like the entire Republican Congress in an absolute panic over the midterms, and to the point where they say, "Fuck Israel, get deal with Iran, get Israel under control. We're going to lose the midterms," and you know, that type of panic. That and the rest of the world in a similar panic. That's what you need to actually have pressure on Israel, and that pressure in Israel will produce a deal. We aren't there yet. And I don't know if this memorandum of understanding will even hold, given Lebanon.
It's crazy. Let's see what JD Vance said.
Our fight lasted for an hour. We're going to negotiate how to not fight anymore, and we're going to take an hour to negotiate that. It's like, wait a minute, the two of you still don't like each other. So we're going to give you an hour to negotiate something that you only have been fighting for an hour, and we think that you two are going to come out of that agreement with something good? No, go separate yourselves.
JD Vance is doing the rounds on Fox News to try to paint it into a win. That's expected.
Of course.
Anyway, look, we have at least an end of hostilities. We'll get more clarity in 5 days on the actual MOU. Unless it gets implemented, we'll see that promise about Israel pulling out of Lebanon. But I think the mess in the Middle East is either going to remain the same, if not get worse from here. And there's more issues to solve after this war than before this war. In the Middle East is worse off after this war than before this war, unless somehow Trump manages to pull a win out of this, which includes really changing U.S.
I mean, Netanyahu is going to bomb Lebanon again before Friday. You know that's going to happen.
Approach to Israeli foreign policy,
but and changing approach to Iran, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, 100%. And I think this would happen. This is more likely to happen. unless Israel doesn't allow it to happen. Again, so complex
Yes.
and annoying. But Anthony, thanks for jumping on, helping us analyze this. And
Well, thanks
hopefully
for tackling
we
such
get
a
this.
difficult and complex issue. I know a lot of people don't want to even.
Yep, well, that was a good video summarizing the absurd place we're in right now, which is they've supposedly finalized an agreement which will be signed next Friday. Can Trump keep Netanyahu under control for 1 week to get to this signing? Let's find out. Anyway, this will be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Come watch on Kick or Twitch. And I'll see you next video. Bye.